For those who don't know, you have probably one of the best, also heartbreaking and traumatic stories that I've ever seen. It's on Netflix. Can you talk to us about how that was put together? Netflix approached you. Did you approach them? And you also have a book. You're an author as well. Talk to us about that. It's called Deal with the Devil. It's on Netflix, and it talks about your historic rise, but also a very dark side of things that was going on behind the scenes that none of us probably knew what was going on. Can you talk to us about how that was brought to you, and and the courage that it takes to tell a story like that, where it's not just talking about, hey, it could have just been, I'm Christy and I'm a Hall of Famer, I'm the best, but you chose to tell another side, and you chose to talk about your survival as a victim of domestic violence. How was that brought to you? And tell us about that.
So I got a call one day from McLean Way. He and his brother do the Untold series on Netflix. Of course, my instincts were like, oh, sure, this is going to happen. Sure, Netflix wants to do a documentary. But as we see now, it actually did happen, and it was it was very healing in some ways. That I sat down. Laura Brownson was the producer, who was awesome. We had many conversations, and I felt like from the time I woke up in the hospital after being shot and stabbed, I said, God left me here for a reason, and that reason is to talk about domestic violence, make people aware that domestic violence doesn't discriminate. Doesn't matter how much money you make. Doesn't matter race, religion, nothing. It is in every aspect, every place in this world. And the more people that can be aware that it's not just about bruises. That's one of my things. My situation, believe it or not, wasn't really physical until it was physical, and that was the night that he shot me, stabbed me, and left me for dead. But I feel like I have to be open and honest, and let people know that if this stuff is happening to them, they're not alone. They can reach out to Christie's Champs, which is all over social media. They can reach out to, in almost every city, there's a domestic violence group that is willing to help. Not only can they help, but they will help. It just takes, you just have to get to that point where I'm tired and I need help. And that is the place it's hard for many victims to get.
How do you have the courage to talk about this now? And like me watching the movie and talking to you now, I can almost feel my voice cracking talking to you. I want to cry for you. How do you find the courage to tell this story over? Because I'm sure you've told this story over and over and over. But I'm sure it's not numbing to you. You still feel those. Um, this is your life. How do you find the courage to talk about this and give other women courage?
It's really like I said, I 100% believe that God left me here for this reason. And if I don't go out there and talk to people and make them more aware of domestic violence, then I'm not living up to why God left me here. So it's something I have to do. And I believe that I share my story. I always tell people when I'm speaking, I share my story not for your sympathy, but to hopefully be able to give you my strength. And if I can get this strength to get up off the floor and get out of the house on that night, so can you, because there's nothing special about me. You can do it if I can do it. And sometimes that's all we need. We just need to see somebody else has been able to walk that path. And then that gives us the strength and the courage to know that we can walk that path.
Yeah, yeah, you're a Hall of Famer in and out the ring. I think you've been in 6 Hall of Fames. Like everybody who has a Hall of Fame anywhere, you are there. That night you were stabbed how many times, and where were you stabbed at?
Yep. The first stabs were like right under my arm on my side. Then there were 3 of those, and then the 4th one came through my breast, and like blood went everywhere. And then he cut my calf muscle almost completely from my leg. I had stabs. He cut I was cut all over, little stabs, and then he pistol whipped me, beat my head into the dresser. My ear was ripped off from my head. It was crazy, but when the time came and he stood at my feet and he held the my own pink 9mm right at me, and I told him, I said, you don't have the balls to shoot me, and he shot me. But as I say, God has a plan for me, and that's to go out there and help somebody else not have to walk down that path that I did.
Where were you shot at, Christy?
He missed my heart by 3 inches. So right in the chest. Actually, the crazy thing is he shot me through the same hole that he stabbed me through. So I'm guessing that in his mind, he thought that was my heart. But, you know, missed.
So he leaves you for dead, leaves and go into the other room and takes a shower. Tell the audience where the story goes from there.
So I'm laying there on my bedroom floor, bleeding, scared, and I remember looking up through like the register, you know, the air conditioning in the ceiling, and it was like my eyes. I was looking straight at God, straight into God's eyes, and I said, "Please help me. Get me out of here some way." And it was immediately I heard the shower water turn on, and when I heard the shower water turn on, I knew that was God telling me get up and get out. And now I had tried to get up many times throughout the night. This attack lasted for about an hour. And every time I would start to raise up, like blood would start squirting out of these places, and it would scare me. So I would lay back down. But this time I was able to get up and get out. I actually picked up my car keys and was going to drive myself to the hospital. But when I get to my car, it was the wrong keys to that car. So I had a choice to either go to the middle of the road and, as I say, carjack somebody, or go back in the house and find the right keys. But I wasn't going back in that house. So I went to the middle of the road, and Rick Cole, my angel, picked me up and took me to the hospital.
And Rick Cole was just a stranger passing down.
Absolutely. He was just passing by. He lived actually in the neighborhood across the street. I had never met him before. But he stopped and picked me up and took me to the hospital. And as we were driving, I would tell him, "Please don't let me die." And then the crazy thing, I would tell him, "Sir, I'm so sorry. I'm bleeding all over your back seat." And you know, the hospital was only like 4 minutes away. So we were there quickly.
Did he know you were a boxer and a champion, and you know, was a celebrity at the time? No,
he didn't. We had never met each other. He said that he was familiar with. I lived in the corner house, but we had never met each other.
I'm of the belief that domestic violence just doesn't start like that, where you just walk in the house, stabbing and shooting. I believe it escalates. It starts with verbal abuse, starts with the mental abuse. What would you say to that?
I agree with you wholeheartedly. It does. It starts out in most situations, I believe, just like you said, it starts out with, verbally, little put downs, isolation. That's a big thing. Like you find yourself, like I had all these friends. I know all these people. And then little by little, I realized I'm on this island by myself. But he's telling me that I'm the only person that loves you. I'm the only person that's going to look out for you. You know, I'm all you need. So you just start to believe it. And he would tell me that no one, my family didn't love me. My friends weren't really friends. They just wanted tickets to Tyson fights. It was just always a mental put down. And at first I would fight back, verbally, I would argue back, but then it's just easier to take it after a while. You just get that beat down. And so that's what he did. After a while, it was just like, okay, Jim, it's easier to go along with what you say than to fight back.
And again, what would you tell young women who are going through similar things and don't realize, like, hey, that's abuse, young lady, like you don't have to take that, or hey, it's gonna get worse if you don't nip this in the bud. Like, what can you tell them that I'm sure somebody probably told them before, but they wasn't a Hall of Famer. They wasn't Hall of Famer Christy, so maybe they might accept that information different from you. Please talk to the young ladies.
It's like this. I tell everybody, we talk to the young boys about don't be physical with the girls, this and that, but we don't talk to the young girls about being strong. And this is what we need to do more of. We need to explain to these young girls that they don't have to take put downs. They don't have to take feeling second best. They don't have to take anything that makes them not feel confident. And that's number one. And at a young age, we have to start improving the strength and courage of our females. But if you're in a relationship, there's so many people out there that want to help you. And there's so many people out there that can help you. But what abusers are great at, they make you feel like they're the only one. They're not. they're not